Welcome! It's February 3rd. I've meant to make this video for the last 2 weeks now. And we're talking about 8 defensemen who the Toronto Maple Leafs and some other teams that I'll mention are coveting before the trade deadline. Starting with the Minnesota Wild and Matt Dumba. Now, I'll digress here for a second. The Leafs in particular are looking for a right-shot defenseman. It's what they need in particular. So offense is a bonus, but having someone responsible in their defensive zone is definitely a must. So let's start off with Matt Dumba of the Minnesota Wild. Now he's young. He's 25 years old, right shot. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds. He's 25. I said that already, didn't I? And he is more known to be an offensive defenseman more than anything else. He's a really good open ice hitter. His defense is a little lacking, though, but he does transition the puck. So let's look at some of his stats. Now, so far in 51 games this season, he's a -9. And he's got 16 points. Wild fans will tell you he's definitely having an off season. But I don't think they're giving this guy up for nothing, really, because he's got a lot of potential. Remember that other player that had potential who was a defenseman who they traded a while ago? Yeah, Brent Burns. Yeah. How's he done in San Jose, by the way? Anyway, so last season, Dumba only played 32 games. You probably know this. He got injured in a fight with Matthew Tkachuk 32 games in. But at that point, he had the most goals of any D-man in the NHL with 12. He was a -5 and had 22 points before he got taken down for the rest of the season. Has that affected him this season? I don't know, but I definitely think he has potential for more. And you wouldn't have to go far as to look past the 2017-18 season, where he played all 82 games, had 50 points, and was a +15. Now, the season before that, he played 76 games, was also a +15, and had 34 points. So probably if he's matched with the right defensive partner, he can really excel. So in saying that, the Leafs may want him, but I don't think that's what they need right now. He's at a good age, yes, and he's got some term, which is what Kyle Dubas is looking for, Toronto's GM. But I don't really see them. If they got him, yeah, sure, it would be great. But I just don't see him the end-all, cure-all for their needs, as for the reasons I just stated. Next up, let's talk about San Jose Sharks left-shot defenseman Brendan Dillon. Why am I bringing him up? He's a left-shot defenseman, but he's got some great underlying numbers. Now, he's 29. He's a UFA next season, but he's making just over $3.2 million. He's 6'4", 225 pounds, and is a beast in the defensive zone. He's one of the best shot suppressors around and definitely available right now. And he's heavily coveted. Boston is interested in him, apparently. So is Carolina. Probably a lot more teams as well. Again, he's a left shot. If he played on the right side, maybe he's a bit younger, he'd be a perfect fit for Toronto. But really, if Toronto traded for him, I wouldn't be upset being a fan of their team. Because imagine him on Boston instead of Toronto. Boston's already a mean-looking team who's doing really well. With Dillon as well, yikes. Chara, Dillon, yeah. So, anyways, his numbers this year. He's been a -3 in 53 games with 13 points. Last season, he was a +19 with 22 points. And his overall numbers, he's played like almost a full season. The seasons previous to that as well. So, he's definitely a heavily coveted player. I could see the Leafs chasing him only to see Boston or Carolina not get their hands on him, really. Besides, being what they need, just on the wrong stick, left side. So, let's talk about a person who I struggle to put on this list because his team is doing really well right now, and that's Adam Larson of the Edmonton Oilers. I know, I'm nuts, right? Because the Oilers, at this moment, are sitting in second in the Pacific. However, they've got 62 points. They're 3 points behind first place Vancouver, and the teams in the wild card positions aren't that far off. Like, it's a tight race in the Pacific. So it's not implausible that they fall out of the playoff race. And if we're talking about the past 3 years, it seemed like, ho-hum. We all knew, maybe Oilers might go on a little bit of run, but it wouldn't last, and they'd fall out. Kind of like Buffalo, but maybe not as tragically, but similar. This year, I don't see that happening. Tippett really has them motivated, playing the right way, although they could use a lot of different kinds of players themselves, including they're desperate for wingers. We know that, although Yamamoto has been playing well so far on that second line with Draisaitl. They could definitely use more depth wingers. They could probably use some depth defensemen too. So I just don't see that happening with Adam Larsson. Although he is another great shot suppressor who eats a lot of minutes. So unless, Edmonton falls way out of the playoff race, it's not happening. Next up, Anaheim Ducks defenseman Josh Manson. I also want to say Mason. It's Manson. So he's 28 years old, shoots right, plays right D, 6'3", 224 pounds. And he's a mean hitter, boy. Clears the front of the net. He's half decent at shot suppressing, but if you look at the team in total, they're near the bottom of the league, so you can't blame all of that on him. And he does play PK, a little bit of PK here and there, as well as the power play. So he would probably be the most ideal person for the Leafs' needs. He's probably a little older than they want. He's got 2 more years left on his contract at $4.1 million, though, so they need to work their cap magic to fit him in somehow. But Elliot Friedman on Sportsnet over the weekend said that another GM, not being Murray from Anaheim, told him that the Ducks love Manson more than your wife loves you. In other words, there's no way they're giving him up. Have you seen what else they have on the right side? Gudbranson and Holzer. I know Gudbranson has a bit of a revival now in Anaheim so far, but still, who do they got coming up to fill that place in the next couple of years? Unless they plan on tanking for the next 2-3 years, which they probably should do anyways. But unless they get a king's ransom for him, I just don't see them trading this guy away. So let's talk about another guy who I struggle to put on this list somewhat because of how well the team is doing in the standings at the moment, but they've lost 5 in a row, and that's the Arizona Coyotes. So they're hanging on barely to that last playoff spot in the Pacific Division at the moment. It's Pacific, right? It is Pacific. So, and they're only, let's see, they've got 59 points. Chicago and Winnipeg have 56, just 3 points behind them with games in hand. So who knows how that's going to go. And don't forget, Winnipeg and Dustin Byfuglien just mutually agreed today to terminate his contract. So all of a sudden they got all this cap space. We'll see what they do with it. Arizona's in a bit of trouble. So if that continues, unlike last season when they finished really strong under Rick Tocchet, but I guess the Taylor Hall trade hasn't proved the dividends that they wished it had. But let's get to Jason Demers. He's 31. He's 6'1". He's 195 pounds. Now he's signed for 1 more season at $4.5 million. So pricey, but he's a veteran. He's got pretty decent shot suppression numbers, and when it comes to his stats here, he's been a +4 in 46 games so far with 9 points. Last season, he only played 35 games, was a +9 with 8 points. Season before that, he was a -4 with 20 points in 69 games. I think I would trust alongside Morgan Rielly. It wouldn't be ideal, but if Hull and Muzzin were the first pairing shutdown lineup, I could see Demers and Rielly really gelling well together. Next up, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators and Dylan DeMello. This is probably the most realistic trade option for almost a lot of teams because of his cap hit. It's only $900,000 this season, and he's a UFA afterwards. But he's 26 years old. He's a right shot, right D. He's 6 foot, 191 pounds, and his shot suppression numbers are okay. They're not bad. They're in the right side of the margin. Now, when it comes to his stats, he's in 42 games, he's been a +7 for Ottawa. Yeah, with 10 points. Okay. Last season with Ottawa, he was a -1 in 77 games. Not bad at all with 22 points. A season before that with the Sharks, in 63 games, he was a -1 with 20 points. The issue with him, I guess, is he's in more of a depth guy, right? He plays maybe more of a sheltered role, even on the Senators' D-core. So, you know what? If you could get him for a good price, put him next to Riley, sure. He'd be okay. And again, the most realistic choice out there. So yeah, that's all I got to say about him. Next, let's talk about someone I struggled a little bit to put on this list because his shot suppression numbers aren't terrific, but he still is kind of like a Jake Muzzin light. And I'm talking about his teammate, his old teammate in LA, Alec Martinez, who plays right defense, but he's a left shot, so he plays both sides. Now he's 32 years old, 6'1", 209 pounds. He's got one more season after this at $4 million, so that's a bit of a cap issue for Toronto. And I heard Colorado's also interested in him, and they have plenty of cap space, so they could probably get him for a lesser price. Now, when it comes to some of his stats here, in 35 games this year, he's a -7 with 8 points. Not bad, especially with a team that's surrounded him. The season before that, he played 60 games, was a -2 with 18 points. Season before that, he was a +3 in 77 games with 25 points. He's been a plus player most of his career. +25 overall. In the playoffs, he's a -1 overall. He's won some cups with LA, obviously. So he's not known for his points. But this could be a good guy to plug in. The problem is the asking price and the cap hit, right? And, if they can get a guy who's close to Jake Muzzin or not quite as good as him, hey, price is right. Why not? Last guy on the list here. I know this is going to be crazy man talking here, but Dustin Byfuglien. Every team wants him right now. But there's a big question mark, right? Because he hasn't skated since his surgery. He hasn't been on the ice. Who knows what kind of shape he's in right now, right? Now he's also, by the way, 34 years old. Shoots right, plays right D, 6'5", 260 pounds. I don't need to tell you about Dustin Byfuglien. Now, he's intimidating, big boy. He's got a really good shot, and he plays okay defense. He may not be the best shot suppressor, but he's great at clearing that net as well. And when it comes to playoff toughness and experience, he's got a cup. And he's played really well for Winnipeg in the past. Now, of course, he hasn't played this season. Last season, in 42 games, he had he was a +4 with 31 points. Season before that, 2017-18, he was a +15 with 45 points. In 2016-17, he was a +10 with 52 points. And it just goes on, and it's kind of similar to that. Now, he had one season where he was a -20. And that brought down his overall average to -8 in his career. But still, I mean, there's also an issue of, besides his health, where does he want to go? He's a free man right now, right? Does he want to go back to Chicago where he played and he won his cups with? Or is because even if Chicago does have him, I don't see them taking a run at the cup with him. I think they're still missing other players. I mean, if he signed with them, that might make them, look into making some trades to give themselves more depth, mortgaging their future kind of deal. But would he go to the Leafs? He'd obviously have to take a huge, a discount. Unless the Leafs, moved out a player like, say, Cody Ceci and threw some draft picks into it to sweeten the deal to a team with cap space. So it's a little far-fetched, obviously, but does he even play any regular season games? Can he even play? Will he be ready by the playoffs? Could he play in the playoffs? Maybe he doesn't want to play until next season. But he just gave up a lot of money. He gave up, how much was he making? He was making $7.6 million, which he basically forfeited this season and next. I don't know. Who knows what he's going to want to do? There's too many question marks there, but I'm going to stop speculating. That's the end of the video. I would love to hear what you have to say about the players I mentioned, or any ones I haven't mentioned. Like, I didn't talk about Travis Hamonic or TJ Brody of the Calgary Flames, but they kind of need them right now. They're chasing, they're in a playoff spot, I believe, still. But in order to make it, they're going to need to keep those boys. They're in their first place wildcard position at the moment. There's also Ryan Ellis of the Nashville Predators. Now, Nashville's out of the playoffs, but they've got 55 points. They're only 4 points out of a playoff spot, and they've got a 3 games in hand on Arizona, for instance. So it's possible they could make it in. I don't see it happening this season. But Ryan Ellis, I know, I'm crazy because he signed for 7 more years after this one at $6.25 million. So it cost the team a lot, but he plays the power play and the PK. Colorado has the space for him. Winnipeg would definitely have the space from a money perspective for him as well. And who wouldn't want this guy, right? And then there's other lesser players like Ron Hainsey of Ottawa. He's left shot but plays both sides. Obviously a depth player making a little bit too much money, probably at $3 million, I believe. There's Mike Green out of Ottawa, but he's not really a PK guy, just a PP, power play specialist. And there's Sean Walker of LA, but he's a little young. He does kill penalties. I don't think LA would want to give him up unless someone overpaid. And there you have it. Please let me know who else you think I might be missing. Hit that like button if you like this video. Smash that subscribe button. If you haven't already, I'm a small channel. Could really use your help. Thanks a lot. I hope to see you soon.